caught my attention is how, this is from the Associated Press, by the way, how Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders and Sam Altman are talking about public ownership and AI. So we're not going to read this article, but the point is that Bernie Sanders is very much concerned about the public risk of AI. He's concerned that these companies, OpenAI, Anthropic, they might develop sentient AI, AGI, that could destroy the world. And so the government need to be more involved. He's also concerned about the environmental and economic costs of AI. Is it going to destroy jobs? Is it going to consume too much electricity and fresh water? Now, whenever you see Bernie Sanders and Sam Altman on the same headline, you should be concerned. Because what Sam Altman really wants is for a public bailout, right? So I've talked about this in my lectures where it is impossible for these AI companies to make any money. They are not profitable by themselves. So what they want is going to subsidize their enterprise, and they'll have complete control over information and surveillance, right? But it's a public that pays for everything. So what Sam Altman basically wants to do is for the government to buy out the data centers from him and subsidize the cost for running AI. Then OpenAI will be profitable. And so this is all a giant scam, guys. Bernie Sanders is part of the scam. If Donald Trump, Bernie Sanders, and Sam Altman are working together, you know it's really, really bad. And so this is something that we should watch out for, okay? My prediction is that the government at some point will come in and make public these data centers, because these data centers are really, really expensive. Also, Larry Fink has voiced concern that there might be some public outrage over these data centers, and there might be public sabotage against these data centers. Well, once the government takes them over, then these data centers can become military bases, right? Good luck trying to attack a data center if it's a military base. Okay, so this is very concerning. Now, one last news item I want to look at is Candace Owens in Russia, okay? Candace Owens in Russia. Because the first question for everyone is like, why would Candace Owens go to Russia? Okay. So we're going to have a quick look over her Twitter account. She has almost 8 million followers, by the way. So what's pinned is Candace Owens goes to Russia, and it's her first time in Russia, obviously. And she's surprised by how beautiful it is. I'm sure Moscow is a beautiful city. Okay, then we go on, and Candace Owens says, we told Russia they couldn't have Starbucks, and they said, fine, we'll just change the name. Okay, so they did this for every brand they got sanctioned, just made it their own. And what you're saying is that American sanctions don't really work. She continues to make fun of Erica Kirk. And here she's responding to Glenn Beck's argument that Candace is becoming a bridge between the United States and Russia. And she responds by saying, the spirit of Christianity does not exist beneath a yarmulke kissing a wall in a city where religious leaders teach their children to spit upon those who worship Jesus Christ. It would therefore be my distinct honor to become the bridge that unites Christians in the East and Christians in the West. So basically, she's a Catholic, and Russia is Orthodox. So she's trying to reconcile these two religions, which basically split about 1,000 years ago. Moscow is one of the most beautiful cities I've ever been to, and I will return. Thank you to the Russian people for the warm welcome. And this is really important, okay? So what Candace Owens is saying is like, from now on, I'm going to go to Russia more, and I'm going to promote deeper understanding between Russia and America. Okay, so those are the news items that I am looking at. So, guys, are there any questions about the news items that you would want me to clarify before I continue? I'm watching the chat now. Um, and maybe someone can come in and ask a question about some of the news items. But basically, what I will try to do in this live stream is show you what's interesting me and how I go about analyzing and thinking about these news items. Because again, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get a deeper understanding of the world, and I'm trying to make predictions about how the world will develop. Oh, so we have Enkidu. Yes. So Enkidu asks, what is Candace's agenda? That's a really good question. Okay. So I've been thinking about this for the longest time. Because Candace Owens had this public split from Ben Shapiro. And Candace Owens, I think, converted to Catholicism about a couple of years ago. Her husband, George Farmer, is a Catholic convert as well. So Candace Owens is by far the bravest media personality in the world. She's got balls, man. I mean, like, the balls on her, I mean, it's just incredible how I don't even know how heavy her balls are, but she is fearless. And I ask myself how she does that because I'm not fearless. I'm very cautious about what I say. The major difference between Candace Owens and myself is like I don't really name names because that's how you get in trouble, right? You don't go after one particular person because then that person has to come after you. So she's gone after Erica Kirk for a long time. Before that, she went after the Macrons. Who's the who and like they try to sue her. So she went after a head of state, the head of state of France. So you ask yourself what's going on here, and I'm going to make some certain assumptions. Okay. So in game theory, it's really important to make assumptions that you can validate against reality. So my assumption is that she is very close to the Catholic Church. And the Catholic Church is the most powerful organization in the world. I'm not saying she's close to the Pope. I'm saying she's close to certain elements within the Catholic Church that have their own agenda. And these might be Jesuits. This might be a certain faction of the Jesuits. Okay, but they support Candace. They offer her opportunity, and her going to Russia suggests that this particular faction is very interested in a reconciliation between the Catholic Church and the Orthodox Church because they see the great enemy as American materialism, secularism, liberalism. And these are honest people. These are people of honest faith. Okay, I'm not saying these are politicians. I'm saying these are people who are generally concerned about the direction of the Western world with all this mass immigration, with all this materialism, the spread of OnlyFans, the popularization of people like Andrew Tate, and they see Candace Owens as a vehicle in order to promote greater faith among young people, and she's doing a fantastic job. So I think that's her role. Her role is to create a spiritual awakening, to get people to return to Jesus, the original teaching of Jesus, not Protestantism, which is a corruption of the teachings of Jesus in the church, but a return to the original church, which is really the Orthodox faith, right? So that's why I think Candace went to Russia to unite the traditionalist elements of both the Catholic Church as well as the Orthodox Church and promote a spiritual awakening in the world. That I think is her agenda. Okay, I could be wrong, but I think that's what's motivating her, and that's why she's getting so much support from both Russia as well as the Vatican. All right, all right. What is the significance of Candace? This is from Lauren. So I think the fact that she's a charismatic, young mother who is Black and she has 4 kids, she represents really a role model for a lot of young religious people, right? It's like she represents what young women should be. They should strive to embrace the Catholic faith or any religion, basically. You should strive to have as many children as possible. You should strive to live a life of Christ, right? She's always saying Christ is king. So that's what I think that is her significance. No one else does what she does, right? I mean, no one else is of the role model that she is trying to become. Um, Go says compute futures just launched. So yes, retail investors funding data center. Look, this is a strategy of these guys. Okay, AI does not make money by itself because there's no market for it. So what you do is you just unload the cost on retail investors, on government, on anyone except yourself, and you're the one who is um, pocketing the profits, right? Luca says, how do you select interesting news? Great question. All right. So this is how my mind works. My mind has a theoretical framework for how the world works. Okay. I think like there's a certain structure to the world. I have certain theories about the agenda of certain individuals. And so I get interested in news when dissonance is created, when something happens that doesn't really fit into my worldview. So for the longest time, I thought that Ivanka and Jared Kushner are extremely private individuals who shy away from the spotlight. So when they appear in the spotlight, making an announcement, that's news to me, right? Because like, what's the agenda here? Because these are private people, and they don't want all the scrutiny. So if they're coming out and making public statements, there must be a reason. Okay, so that interests me. Um, Bernie Sanders is not an AI guy, right? Bernie Sanders, he's a socialist. He's also over 80 years old. He doesn't understand anything about AI. So when Bernie Sanders is sitting down with Sam Altman, that is dissonance. That's newsworthy to me. We just assume that the Pentagon and issue are very close. When Pentagon insiders are leaking news of discord between Israel and the Pentagon, that's news. That's dissonance. That doesn't make any sense, right? Um, Israel is a mercenary army subcontracted by the Pentagon to create as much conflict as possible in the Middle East. Why is the Pentagon talking crap about Israel? That's newsworthy. Okay, so it's the idea of dissonance. Something like that appears that shouldn't be there. It doesn't fit into the regular worldview that I have. Okay. Um, Gnome says it would be helpful if you have someone monitoring the chat while you speak. That is a great suggestion. It's my first time doing a live stream. It is a lot harder than it looks. Okay, it's really hard. I used to do. I've done quite a few live streams with Sneeko, and like his eyes are everywhere. It seems as though he's able to focus on three different things at once. I can't do that. My mind will go berserk if I did that. So you're absolutely right. Let me figure this out. Let me figure out how to get a moderator in here. And also, maybe next time or maybe a couple months from now, we'll do a Zoom conversation so like each of you will have the opportunity to participate. And then I can just rest, right? Because right now I'm just talking. Again, these streamers like Hassan Piker, Sneeko, my hat's off to them because I don't know how they do this. They do this like 8 hours a day, by the way. Like we might go on for like another hour, but I'm already it's been half an hour and I'm already exhausted. Matthew DeMarcantonio says, fun comment. Your article on Peter Thiel's Republic circulated among the Thiel fellows. Yeah. Um. So first of all, the Field Fellows are a very impressive group of kids. I actually met one of them in Dubai, and he's very, very impressive. They're really, really smart. So I appreciate the fact that they're open-minded and they're curious and they're looking at things from a different angle. Also, like if you read the article, even though what Peter Thiel is doing is pretty evil and dangerous, I'm pretty respectful of him because I like it when people who are evil actually know what they're doing, because then it's just easier for me to understand their motivations and predict how they behave. Like Peter Thiel's a chess player, and like the other person I admire a lot is Vladimir Putin. Okay, he's also evil and he's also dangerous, but I admire Vladimir Putin because things he does makes actually sense. Okay, so people that annoy me are people like Donald Trump, because he's always confusing me and it's driving me insane. It's hard for me to anticipate Donald Trump's next moves. Whereas Vladimir Putin, Peter Thiel, these guys, I respect, I admire because what they do makes actual strategic sense. So I think that Peter Thiel going to Argentina is really